Before we start the show, I would like to say thank you to our sponsors, Law Clerk, Law Yaw, and Scorpion.
The Un-Billable Hour Community Table, where real lawyers from all around the country with real issues they are dealing with right now meet together virtually to present their questions to Christopher T. Anderson, lawyer and law firm management consultant. New questions every episode, and none of it scripted. The real conversations happen here. The first question comes from a lawyer who is uncertain how to market two different areas of focus for her law firm.
I'm a medical malpractice lawyer. We've decided to put all of our marketing dollars on medical malpractice and to try to be facing to the world as we are only medical malpractice lawyers. However, as you know, Christopher, I have a very senior, what I call a general personal injury litigation lawyer. Because I put all of my eggs in the medical malpractice basket, she's running out of cases. As you know, when I was advertising for those cases in 2019, her attorney's fees were over $1 million.
Right.
She also is able to turn those cases more quickly than we can the med mal cases. There's a lot of reasons for me to keep her with a healthy car wreck, truck wreck, general litigation docket. Spoke with my marketing people today, and they were like, well, you got to rob Peter to pay Paul. So what I was wondering are, what are some basic marketing techniques that I could use that are not digital marketing that could help build this docket? Does that make sense?
Gosh. No, the question makes sense. I don't know why you'd want to exclude digital, but I mean, I think the biggest, PIMLA would be if you go to PIMLA, you find out exactly what you need to do, what's the one for personal injury? Yeah, the PIMLA. PILMA, thank you. You'll find out all the different things you can do. I mean, billboards are huge, radio is huge, TV is huge. There's a lot of different, 800 specialized 800 numbers are huge. There's a lot of marketing techniques and tactics, but I don't know why we would exclude one channel in favor of all the others. Yes. Do you have a reason why you want to do that?
Well, because we don't want to appear public facing to say we can handle your 8-figure med mal case and also your soft tissue car wreck case.
Right. I got that. And that's where I have a solution for that, but it doesn't necessarily involve killing digital. The answer for that is you need a separate brand because this is the dog clinic and the cat clinic. And the marketing, it's even worse than the dog clinic and the cat clinic. This is indeed just two separate products that don't go together. And trying to co-market them will dilute both brands. So, and as you know, the factories are different or whatever, but that's not your problem. You've got both factories figured out. I know that, so you don't have, the problems with operating two different practices are always the marketing gets confused and the factories get confused. And that could really be a strain on the business. It ruins profitability, but you've got the second part figured out. So I'm not aware of Texas's rules yet, but does Texas allow trade names at all?
No.
Not yet. Not yet, because the states are falling fast. New York just fell. I never thought New York would go. So you need a different brand under the same name or a separate entity, like, you and your other person. And, she needn't be a partner, but she can be on the firm, or it could just be personal injury. Like there's something else you can do, but we can set up two separate brands. The third problem with doing that is the one I want to be sure that we're anticipating, which is as long as anybody else smells that Kate is doing personal injury like trucks as well as med mal, then other PI firms will be less likely to send med mal cases your way.
Correct.
And there's no getting around that. I mean, if you just avoid digital, it's not like they're not going to sniff you out. They will. So you just have to be prepared for that is going to decrease referrals from other PI lawyers because they'll be worried that you're competing because you're not going to be referring your MVs to them, your MVAs to them. So if you're prepared for that, if that's okay, then the idea here is we just market under a completely separate brand so the market doesn't confuse the two. And then you can hit digital, you can hit all the resources based on what you think is the best marketing mix for that business and fill her up.
Yes, right. Okay, tons of things to think about. And I think I do know actually some really prominent lawyers in town that just all of a sudden one night there was this guy all over billboards, and everybody in town was like, who? We've never heard of that guy. Who is it? And then, as you're saying, they sniffed it out. They just got somebody that they thought made a good brand image and said, hey, do you want a job? You can have this firm, or whatever. So I understand the concept. And I've heard about PILMA for years, and great legal marketing as well. So I'll look into that.
Yeah, those will give you the ideas of what you can do. But again, I think it's not the right thinking to think about just avoiding digital to not mix up the brands. It's about creating a separate brand.
Gotcha.
The second question centers around the struggles a lawyer is having finding a call intake employee to hire.
I'm out of options on hiring. I'm literally stuck, and I think I've done most everything I could possibly do. My recruiters, I'm firing the intake that came from a recruiter, so he's going to find me a replacement.
Yeah, so first of all, your question just started with hiring. You didn't say what role, and I know the answer is probably all.
Sorry,
but
let's just say all. Well, intake and attorney are my now top two priorities. We might have a virtual staffer we just interviewed an hour ago. That seems, at least I could probably maybe get 1.5 to 2 years out of him. Does intake? To me, intake has a lifespan of about 2 years. I've been noticing that trend because of the call volume, the stories. Has anyone had an intake person more than 2 years?
No. Yeah.
So I'm thinking if I can get a virtual person, or anyone for that matter, if at least I get 1.5 to 2 years, I think I've hit they cap out at about that rate.
What's your number of calls per day that intake is fielding?
Recently, it's probably about 10 new referrals plus those calling back from previous days.
But so 10 new leads a day for intake, marketing qualified leads, 220 to 250 a month.
In the past couple of weeks, it's dramatically increased.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't like that, so it was manageable, but
right.
So you have the intake problem, and then my sales is selling. So now I have an attorney problem because I don't have.
So for intake, I mean, my solution has always been to have a core person on team, and then to have an outsourced team on call that can handle the overflow, which you handle with a call tree or some automation, so that 2 rings, boom, goes. So the client doesn't experience anything. And of course, you could always, the beauty there is you can weigh the effectiveness of both sides of the business. As far as recruiting for intake, I got to be honest, I've been the most successful over the past year as far as internal. I recruit from excellent customer service that I receive in my local area, either New York City when I'm there, or in Georgia when I'm there, or in Colorado when I'm there. And I have hired people from bodegas. I just recently hired a person who was doing interior decoration, interior remodeling. They sent, instead of sending an engineer over, they sent a sales guy over. Loved him, hired him. And I didn't do business, and I didn't buy the interior remodeling from that company. But it's a recruiting game. Like, they're not out there because they don't. And when I was with How to Manage, we faced the same problem with marketing people, and we finally decided to start advertising for the jobs, not mentioning it was How to Manage or the business we were in, because they don't. Salespeople, intake people who would be effective in the role, don't see themselves at a law firm. Like, it just doesn't click. They don't think law firms do this. And so they're not looking. If they see it, they won't apply. And so you've got to either position a separate marketing and intake entity. It doesn't have to really exist, right? You just create it for the purpose of recruiting. And or you just go out there and you hunt and you turn everybody you know, your husband, your friends, everybody you know, like, I'm looking for this, but if you come across, this is what this person looks like. This is how they quack. This is how they waddle. This is how they flap their wings. If you see one, it's a duck. I want it. Bring it to me. And, here's a finder's fee. They don't have to be legal. I prefer that they're not.
Yeah.
I just hired two. Like the one I just told you about, I've hired actually three. I hired a guy who was selling mattresses. The other one is in New York, but like, I just find them because you're right. They don't last that long. So I hire them whenever I find them. Because I always have something for them to do because I've got the overflow, right? So when I hire someone else, I can pay my overflow business less for a while until the volume builds back up.
Should I change my job ad to remove law firm or keep it law firm, or just the title should say inside sales?
Yes. Inbound, outbound, or both. You characterize it the way you will. Mine are heavily both. So I'd make sure I do say that it's inbound and outbound.
Remove anything about a law firm and just say,
because they don't see it.
We'll tell you about it when you call.
Yeah.
I could do that.
You could say, highly fast-growing professional services business, fast-growing services business, however you want to characterize it, but don't say law firm. They don't get it, especially family law firm. It just doesn't click.
All right. I'll try that because I'm at my wit's end. So, and then the recruiting for the lawyers. I mean, I'm about to just, I don't know, honestly, nothing, crickets. I've
come across someone that I've started using. I can't tell her name to everybody in the business, but if you on this call, but if you DM me, we can speak privately and I will give you her name. She is not a lawyer recruiter. I have recruited her to recruit lawyers and she's doing a great job.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, and I'll give you her name.
All right, cool.
It's another one of those things where I saw someone in a different business and said, you'd be good at this. And she is.
Interesting.
And and she charges normally, because she knows the recruiting business. So she charges me like everybody else, but she's easy to work with.
Thanks.
Law Clerk is where attorneys go to hire freelance lawyers. Whether you need a research memo or a complicated appellate brief, our network of freelance lawyers have every level of experience and expertise. Sign up is free, and there are no monthly fees. Only pay the flat fee price you set. Use rebate code Un-Billable to get a $100 Amazon gift card when you complete your next project. Learn more at lawclerk.legal. Now more than ever, an effective marketing strategy is one of the most important things for your firm. Scorpion can help. With nearly 20 years of experience serving the legal industry, Scorpion has proven methods to help you get the high-value cases you deserve. Join thousands of attorneys across the country who have turned to Scorpion for effective marketing and technology solutions. For a better way to grow your practice, visit scorpionlegal.com.
The third question is from a lawyer who wants to know how to best use marketing dollars when starting in a new state.
This may be a question that you've probably already answered for yourself. You go into a new market where no one knows you much and you're starting out, whether it's competitive or not. I see you're into divorces in Colorado. So my question is, where do you put your money in your marketing as you come in? What do you do starting out from nothing? I mean, a lot of obviously, digital and things like that. But I'm just kind of curious, just from your perspective, coming into a place where, to introduce yourself to a lot of new people, will take some time. Getting any traction when you're figuring out, what lawyers to speak with, how you, ask for the referrals from that aspect. Obviously, we're doing auto accidents and personal injury down in Tampa, which is one of the probably highest concentration of Morgan and Morgan and, everybody else that's blowing money left and right. So I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are. And
so first of all, the big question is, what are you doing in Tampa? Are you doing the same thing? You're doing PI work, or what's the thing in Tampa?
Well, we're doing PI, and my son's licensed down here, and so I took the bar exam. I think maybe I told you that. I wasn't sure, but anyway, so I'm licensed down in Florida, and we're doing personal injury and some criminal defense, kind of like what we're doing in Nebraska. to a certain degree.
Okay. So, I think the answer is, for me and the business I'm actually in Colorado and elsewhere is law firm acquisitions. And, and so we're building a new business model and then acquiring law firms and putting them into it. But in order to do that, we had to prove the concept. So my model for proving this concept of how to drop a law firm, how to drop a brand into a new area is, first of all, you have to build recognition. So the first thing was you do things free, give free content, give free workshops, give free seminars, and some low cost stuff, but get like good 6 to 9 months of market priming so that you can get some recognition. Then you hit the market, with marketing, with cold marketing, because you're not a known entity. You don't have authority yet. And you can hit it with cold marketing in a variety of ways. But to me, the number one key is hire somebody who is known. That is the fastest way into the market. So you get someone who knows their way around, who can tell you who's good, who's bad, what they know about it, and who has some recognition that can tell the marketplace, hey, this firm's legit. This is a good idea, and you should do it. You should consider them to be legit in the space. That's in a business that requires knowledge. Now let's talk about what you do. For the most part, what you do, much like what Kim does, much like what Carrie does, involves people who have zero sophistication in deciding how to hire a law firm because they've never done it before. So you get to educate them on how to do it. And that's where you focus your marketing. Is this, why are you different? Why are you in this market space? Why should they hire you? And you have to get to them. So the answer to that is, to the extent you can't do what I said before, get someone who's known and leverage a known entity. Then you focus on digital and any other means that gets you directly in front of the consumer in a way that they will not be looking for social proof, a referral evidence, but basically they're looking for you to teach them what it is to be their client. And so that your messaging is around that. This is Inklar Law. This is why we do things the way we do them. This is why we're different. This is why you'll be okay with us. And here's what you should expect from us. And make it, what they won't get from someone else. Don't make it this stupid stuff like, we'll return your phone calls or, we care. What's different? What is something that other lawyers aren't saying? Say that. Only if you mean it, of course. But but then you're putting your money, and it's what I described to. I think in the last meeting we were talking to someone else, but I said, you have to distinguish in marketing between the allegory is one that should be important to like our estate planning folks. At the beginning, when you're launching a business, you are building money. As the business matures, you move to build wealth. Building wealth is getting referral clients, getting people to send you business, getting known in the marketplace, getting brand recognition. That's all wealth. At first, spend all your money getting money because that's what you need. And the wealth has to come second. You can't do it the other way around. But so a little bit of priming the market, then focusing on getting money, and then building the referral network. And if along the way you can inject some talent from the market, that will help a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You talked about market or acquisition of law firms. I went through that process for about a year and looking at, several law firms down here that were for sale. And obviously the process that you go through and what people put on their numbers and what you find out are really one way or the other. You think they have good law firms, and then you find out that reality, they really aren't selling much.
No, most law firms are worth close to zero.
Right. So that was the process that we went through. I considered, finding some good firms, putting some money into those. And like you said, you've got a known entity that's already running. You're pulling in some clients. But bottom line is that I went through, I think, 3 or 4 different law firms over the years and came to the same conclusion every time. We might as well take the, 150, 200,000 that we have to put into it, let's say.
Put it in marketing. Yeah.
And just go ahead and try to market. So that's why I was just asking you, when you're starting out and nobody knows you and you don't have that leverage of current clients coming in. I mean, we're doing lawyer referral from the Hillsborough Bar just to kind of have some connection. They're doing a lot of free work just answering questions that have nothing to do with car wrecks, but still building recognition from people who know who you are. May be spending some money, but you're just trying to get familiarity with different people, knowing who you are, and at least have the phones ringing.
Yeah. I've got to play you out, but that's a conversation that I want to continue with you. If you want to talk about plopping into a new marketplace a little bit more, just shoot me an email. We'll chat a little bit more about that.
Our fourth question is about the differences between training a new hire versus hiring an already experienced candidate.
I wanted to ask you about training people versus hiring people for a position. So when I first started out on my own, I would hire the cheapest, least experienced people, and that was a disaster. And then I swore to myself up and down that there's no way in hell that I wasn't hiring someone who wasn't already a competent professional at the job I was hiring for. And I'm finding myself, I'm hiring for sort of a very specific kind of role and having a really, really hard time finding that probate paralegal who isn't doing ultra high net worth and wondering if I should grow one of my own. And it kind of gives me a pit in the bottom of my stomach to do it because it's going to be so draining. But I'm going to keep needing these people. That's kind of part A of my question. And
the answer is higher. Clearly, you're not big enough to train. Like there are positions where you'll have to train for because they don't exist, or you'll have to try to mold someone into something that you've got that doesn't exist in the market space. And if that's the case, that's what you got to do. But let me give you this. As I grew my businesses, what I often found when I found someone who met the job description and was really a rock star in that area is that I learned along the way that I had no idea how good that role could be. In the beginning of my career, I had some paralegals around, and I went into a firm that had some paralegals around, and I thought that's what a good paralegal was until I hired a good paralegal. And I was like, holy shit, paralegals can do all that. And it raised my standard. And I trained a few. I mean, I would never have trained a paralegal to that standard. I would now, but I wouldn't have then. And now I don't have time. Like now, could I train a paralegal to that standard? Yes, I could. It would take me a year. It would be a colossal waste of my time because they exist in the world. So the only time where it's really important to be able to train is for culture, where you have a role for them in their untrained state. So for instance, if you're a large enough firm, you can bring in law clerks. And when they graduate, they can be junior attorneys because you've got a role for junior attorneys where they can be valuable in that role. And then you'll train them to be senior attorneys, but like they're serviceable all the way through that training because that takes time. If you don't have a firm that size, you've got to hire for the position you need and then hope that they grow from there. But you're not a training business. And, I don't actually know enough about your background, Yana, but I don't think you're a professional trainer. And so it's hubris a little bit to think that you're going to all of a sudden become one. You're also not a professional recruiter. So that's part of the problem, right? But it's, you have a better idea or you have a better chance of finding what you're looking for if you just get really clear about what you're looking for and you go out there and you hunt for it, or you pay someone else to hunt for it and not accept less, meet your standard for not accepting less.
No one cites routine drafting as the reason they chose to become a lawyer, but that's where a lot of time goes for solo practitioners and small firms. LawYaw can help you transform your existing Word documents into reusable templates with no coding required. Save time and avoid errors with intuitive features like conditional logic. Use a tool that empowers your experience and expertise. Learn more at lawyaw.com, and that's LAWYAW.com.
Finally, our last question comes from a lawyer who has problems with understaffing as she is about to go on maternity leave.
I'm scheduled to deliver any day now, Chris.
Congratulations.
Yay. I've lost a lot of money this year behind that, so
Yeah.
I'll take it. But what I wanted to ask you is, I have hired an attorney that had supposedly on the books, on paper, she has 18 years of experience. I have a younger attorney who, fresh out of, passing the bar at the end of last year, I find him to be worth more than the 18-year attorney that I have. And the issue that I have is that he's not in a position, he's not ready to go to trial. He can't try cases. But I have an 18-year vet that's on my payroll who I'm struggling with. But at the same time, the market is so bad and I'm about to pop. So I definitely can't, jump in a courtroom right now. I'm not even in Georgia. I'm in Florida. So what do I do with this 18-year vet? Do I just let her loose? What do I do?
Well, so there's the short-term answer and the long-term answer, right? If that leaves you without anybody that can go to court tomorrow, you don't do that to your business. But the market, everyone's at the market. There are lawyers out there. It's just different. You've got to market for them and find them. I'm hiring them, and you guys can too. You have to, it's not putting an ad out on Indeed. It's calling. Listen, I don't want to give all my secrets away, but I won't even give the name, but there's another law firm in Colorado who claims to be everything that is my mission, but they're not. Okay. And so the lawyers that are there are disillusioned, and I'm picking them off one at a time. There are places, if you get your name out there and listen, here's the model that I've tried to teach and will continue to try to teach because I think it works. It works for me, is you start with who would I want that I know exists in the world. Doesn't matter if they're looking for a job or not. Who would I want? Can you, when I say who, if you could choose any lawyer that you know to come work in your firm right now, do you know who they are?
They own their own firm.
I didn't say that they would work in your business. I just said if you could wave a magic wand and they'd be in your business. Who would it be? Yeah, you know them. And they either own their own firm or they work in a firm. And hopefully you know some who work in a firm and they're happy where they are.
Right.
And if you know the owner of the firm, even better, because then you call the owner of that firm and you say, hey, listen, I want to talk to Jean. Jean is exactly the kind of lawyer I want to work in my firm. And I promise you, 9 ways to Sunday, even if Jean tells me he hates your guts and wants to leave, I won't hire Jean out of respect for you. This is not what this conversation is, but here's what I know. Lawyers like Jean know lawyers like Jean, and I don't. So I want to talk to Jean to get an idea about who out there is not happy, but they're not looking. They're not on Indeed. They're not looking where I'm putting the word out so that I can go talk to them. And then you get permission to talk to Jean and you ask Jean, give me 4, at the end of the day, I can't hire you, but can you help me out? I need people, who are the 5 lawyers you would think would be great for my business? And then you go talk to them and you ask each of them for the 3 lawyers. And I learned this from my insurance guy. When I first opened my law firm, my insurance guy came in to try to sell me insurance. It was day 3. I wasn't buying anything. I was buying paper clips. So we had a nice conversation. He said, listen, I know you're not going to buy anything this year. I know you'll buy from me next year. But in the meantime, 3 people I should talk to. And I gave him 3 names. And that's how he built his business. And that's the same thing I'm using to recruit, is I just go find people that I would want if they were available. And I don't care if they're available because each one of them knows 5 people. And, before you know it, I'm talking to 125 people. And then I find people. And that's how I found everybody that I've been building this new business. That's how I find all the lawyers right now, because lawyers aren't looking for jobs, not the good ones.
Right.
But they are looking in their heads. They're just afraid. Okay. So you go find them.
All right.
But yeah, for right now, no, you can't leave yourself in the lurch. Have your newish lawyer second chair her so he can get trial ready. Send him to NEDA. Yeah, send him to NEDA. I was going to say the Trial Lawyers College in South Carolina, but I think that's only for prosecutors. But NEDA is a good place to go. And there's probably others. There's probably AALJ or something like Inklar might know. Who else on here does defense?
ALJ for if you're doing civil litigation for PI work. Trial Lawyers College is doing stuff for criminal, but they also do, if you don't represent corporations, they will train you for certain things. And then NEDA is some of the civil litigation. And there's the National Criminal Defense College as well for criminal defense lawyers.
Thank you for listening. This has been the Un-Billable Hour Community Table on the Legal Talk Network.
Are you looking for a podcast that was created for new solos? Then join me, Adriana Linares, each month on the New Solo Podcast. We talk to lawyers who have built their own successful practices and share their insights to help you grow yours. You can find New Solo on the Legal Talk Network or anywhere you get your podcasts.